Next up, we're going to have J.D. Snyder. J.D. comes to us from Michigan State and MSU Center for Community and Economic Development as the Director of Export Resources and Expert Networks, which is pretty cool stuff. I am hoping you're getting a sense of the weight and the breadth of work that's going on in the Great Lakes region. We're continuing to build this story and making sure that we're making some connections between sort of the vision that we set out earlier, or that Anne Marie and her team and Governor Blanchard and his remarks, that we have set in motion a series of visions. However, those visions take specific sets of actions and specific sets of work and specific sets of research, unpacking the things that we need to do underneath this. And we're going to continue with this thread with JD. I've known JD for a while, and we're thrilled to have you here. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It really is an honor and a pleasure to be here this morning, and I hope you'll bear with me if my allergies kick the heck out of my head the way they have been off and on for the past few days. I have a throat lozenge in the crease of my mouth to try to keep things soothed, but in the meantime, I'll do the best I can to get through the presentation here this morning. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here on the same program as with my old boss, Governor Blanchard, who of course served as governor in the 1980s, and a pleasure to see Janet as well. It was in his administration that I had the honor to be the second director of the Michigan office of the Great Lakes, the office that John Allen currently holds, and we're certainly glad from those days to see that this office has not only continued but expanded its function and really increased the impact of the scope of activities that have been carried on in that office. So that's very important work, and we're really glad to see that it's continued on. I do want to make a couple of comments. I've entitled the presentation Binational Regional Collaboration, Expanding the Relationship, and I've certainly taken to heart the many fine comments that we've heard already this morning from Bill Rustum, from Roy Norton. Particularly, it was interesting listening to Bill talk about the Great Lakes policy work that goes back to the Milliken administration, which of course was the administration before the Blanchard administration. And so part of the story and part of the message is that Michigan has a vital and key leadership role to play in the Great Lakes region. And so we need to do everything here in this room and in the state of Michigan to push the kinds of progressive Great Lakes policies, the Great Lakes regional policies, that make sense to building this region economically, socially, and culturally. I mean, it's not just about economics. So let's get started on the presentation. I'm going to skip over some of these slides fairly quickly because I think we've been touching upon them this morning, and what I really want to get to is where I think we can go in the future based on some of the work that we've been doing at the MSU Center for Community and Economic Development, along with our key partners, which include the Eastern Upper Peninsula Regional Planning and Development Commission, and Jeff Hagan is here with us this morning from that regional partner up in the Sioux. Also the East Michigan Council of Governments, the regional planning agency around Saginaw Bay and the Thumb, and last and definitely not least, the St. Clair County Economic Development Alliance. So why collaborate? We've all heard about Canada and the U.S., and Michigan and Ontario particularly are huge trading partners. And again, I'm not going to list through these bullets, but the major takeaway from this particular slide is it obviously behooves us to take advantage of the proximity that we have to Ontario and the potential for expanding our markets by taking advantage of that very large province with lots of market opportunities. So let's look at the levels of binational collaboration just briefly. Obviously, there's the national level between the U.S. and Canada. And then there's the all-important relationship between the state and the provinces, or between Michigan and Ontario, which I would suggest is a really critical economic relationship that's only partially been taken advantage of over the past 30 years. And in looking forward and looking at the next 5 years and the next 10 years, with the kind of consciousness that we are creating in this kind of meeting, we can really look at building on the nexus between Ontario and Michigan to really make a high impact on the ground economically, socially, and culturally. We think a major way to approach this kind of nexus, to approach this kind of collaboration, is at the regional, sub-state, or sub-provincial level. And that's what we've been trying to do in the past several months with some of the activities that we've been carrying on with the St. Clair County EDA and also with the Eastern Upper Peninsula Regional Planning and Development Commission. So binational collaboration provides an important tool, obviously, for overcoming the barriers to achieving greater binational regional economic prosperity. And we want to look at this in the context of Ontario and Michigan forming, excuse me, a super region with formidable binational assets that can be used to our competitive advantage in the global economy. And I think that's the one picture that is really, really critical and dramatic in terms of looking at the potential that we have as this Ontario-Michigan mega-region economic powerhouse that can compete in a very meaningful way on the global stage. So we have opportunities that exist for increased cross-border cooperation, particularly at our binational corridors with land crossings. So obviously Detroit-Windsor that we've heard a lot about, but also at Port Huron-Sarnia in what we call the Blue Water region, and also at the Twin Saults at the International Bridge up in the Upper Peninsula and that part of Ontario. With those bridges, we already have with those crossings, we already have physical bridges that can facilitate the increased economic development that we'd like to undertake in the next few years, and actually the more immediate months. So what we've done is organized a couple of different binational regional collaboration conferences. We just concluded one a week ago yesterday, the first Blue Water Regional Collaboration Conference that involved primarily Port Huron, St. Clair County, Michigan, and Sarnia, Lambton County, Ontario, looking at using that East Michigan area I-69 international trade corridor and Southwest Ontario with its Highway 402, 401, the equivalent to our interstate system, looking at using that physical nexus provided by that connected highway going across the border. And then also, we have a conference coming up at the end of this month that we certainly invite all of you to attend. The second annual Twin Saults Regional Conference, primarily coordinated by the Sault Ste. Marie EDC, along with our regional partner, the Eastern Upper Peninsula Regional Planning Development Commission, as well as the Sault Ste. Marie Ontario EDC. And again, we're looking at a corridor that's connected by the International Bridge, I-75 on our side of the border, and with immediate access to the Trans-Canada Highway at the Sault, Ontario, Algoma District. So returning to looking at the Blue Water region, this is a more general map than would have been preferable, but you can see here Highway 402 going through Sarnia and connecting with the I-69 at Port Huron, and of course with I-69 out of Port Huron, you have fairly immediate access to I-75 that goes all the way down to Florida, and then 69, of course, going down into Indiana, becoming part of the corridor that goes through down to Mexico, and then, of course, 94 over to Chicago and west from there, and 96 across the state. So it's a tremendous physical infrastructure asset that we have by having these bridge connections to Ontario as well as the fantastic interstate highway system that we have in this country. In looking at the Blue Water region, I wanted to give you a little flavor of the major economic sectors. In St. Clair County, automotive parts manufacturing is still very important. Healthcare is a big employer. Utility power generation with 3 DTE plants is an important sector. Plastics manufacturing is also a very important sector. For example, they have a major polypropylene manufacturer in the county. Lambton County, interestingly, in Ontario, has a very different mix in its major economic sectors. Oil refining and petrochemical production being primary. It's basically their chemical alley in Sarnia, Lambton. They also have a very active area in industrial bioproducts, and they're also a big energy producer. And for example, they have the largest solar farm in the northern hemisphere, or at least so George Millay told me last night. And tourism with gaming is a very important part of the economic mix in Sarnia as well. In organizing the conference, I wanted to give you a little flavor of the folks that we brought together to make this conference the success that it was. First and foremost, our partner there in Port Huron, the Economic Development Alliance in St. Clair County, Dan Casey being the CEO of that organization. I know many of you in this room know him. And then, of course, his counterpart, the Sarnia Lambton Economic Partnership, but also the Southwest Ontario Economic Alliance, the George Morris Center, an agricultural policy think tank in Guelph, the University of Guelph, and the Canadian Council in Detroit. Roy Norton's staff was tremendously helpful to us in organizing the conference. The MSU Canadian Studies Center, Anne-Marie Snyder, the Blue Water Bridge Authority, the I-69 International Trade Corridor, MDOT, MCOG, MEDC, St. Clair Community College, and my Center for Community and Economic Development at MSU. So in organizing the conference, we identified 5 panel topics: binational agri-food production, green chemistry innovations, strategic approaches to immigrant attraction, regional logistics solutions, and a joint marketing roundtable. It was interesting when I reviewed the program and how we put that together that the majority of those topics were recommended by our Canadian colleagues. And so just to give you a real flavor and appreciation for the texture of organizing the conference was how collegial and how much we really were interacting with our Ontario colleagues and how they contributed to the program. In the Green Chemistry Innovations panel, we had representatives from the Bioindustrial Innovation Center in Sarnia, the Ontario Bio-Auto Council in Guelph, the Ontario Agri-Food Technologies Group in Guelph, Michigan Molecular Institute here in Midland, and MBI International, which is immediately adjacent to the MSU campus down on the southern part of campus. The binational regional agri-food production panel consisted of MEBA, the Michigan Sugar Company, which I'll definitely be returning to in a bit, the Ontario Sugar Beet Growers Association, Ontario Federation of Ag, the old MSU Ag Econ Department, now called Agricultural Food and Resource Economics, and the MSU Center for Economic Analysis. The Immigrant Attraction Panel consisted of Global Detroit, Steve DeBachman from Detroit, University of Guelph, which is doing some very interesting research in the immigrant attraction area. We had the mayor from the city of Southfield to talk about her on-the-ground experiences with immigrant attraction issues. The Ontario Immigrant Network, based out of Sarnia, which is playing a really key role in these rural areas in looking at encouragement of immigrant attraction, and was moderated by Maria Navai from the MEDC Talent Enhancement area. Finally, I'm winding up on time, so there are the panelists we had for that group. There are the participants we had on the roundtable on joint marketing, which was a really good discussion. And one of the main things that we talked about was how do we collaborate better? And we had a case study where Ontario sugar beet growers are supplying the Michigan Sugar Company with about 10% of what they need to process sugar for Pioneer Sugar and Big Chief. And also, as a part of that mix, the University of Guelph has been doing beet research to support that effort. So we have a really strong ongoing collaboration between sugar beet growers and Michigan Sugar. The beets are electronically pre-cleared at the border so they can get straight through across the Blue Water Bridge without any difficulty. So a true model of the kind of collaboration that can be done. It's also collaboration very strong in the asparagus production. What were the lessons learned from what we accomplished at the conference? Well, one of the big ones was BIC and MBI are great research centers with different attributes. And they do send business to each other currently. They do have knowledge of what each other can do, but they identified the need to identify real champions on each side of the border to enhance and build this collaborative relationship and make it more specific, more ongoing, more institutionalized. And obviously competing doesn't stop, but each side can also help each other a lot. There's also, in the biomass supply, there is already an ongoing collaboration. It's pointed out there's nothing magical about the St. Clair River. It's easy to get across, so we can be blind about that border. And that companies need to access supply. They don't care which side of the border it's coming from as long as it's within a reasonable radius. So potential future steps. We'd like to see an expansion of the collaboration between the Bioindustrial Innovation Center and MBI International, MMI, MSU, the University of Guelph. We're really looking forward to having conversations to, as I said, really institutionalizing this relationship so that it can bear greater fruit and benefits for communities on both sides of the border. There's a need to focus on product commercialization and the need, very definite, to develop binational strategies in these key areas that I've identified that would facilitate expansion of current collaboration and really bring about the kind of economic prosperity that we want to see in the binational regions along these border crossings. Thank you.
Thank you.